let's talk about SmackDown a little bit more. Let's talk about Roman first. He doesn't speak. He comes out for the Bloodline segment and just gets right to work and destroys them. And now, no Jacob Fatu, which I think is important into the context of this because he kind of ran through those other three guys. Not kind of. He did. Place is going nuts. They're chanting OTC. He has still yet to say anything. He has still yet to speak, which tells you the grasp he has on those fans. And I mean that in the best way possible. I'm going to talk a little bit about Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania and the grasp that Stone Cold had on the crowd on that night. And as it relates to Roman Reigns, 2 appearances, no words, crowd on fire. A great example of taking your time. A great example of leaving them wanting more. He's given them plenty. His actions, which is the opposite, by the way, of the Roman we're used to. Roman didn't get his hands dirty unless he had to. There was always a plan. I've talked about these 2 versions of the Bloodline. The current version is very chaotic, very take everything by force at all times, wreck house. Sometimes the plans don't work or they go astray. The original Bloodline, Roman would show up when he wanted to show up, part of the story, also part of his contract, but within story, hey, Paul's there. The rest of the Bloodline's there. They'll take care of things, but always planned out, always methodical, always sitting back in his chair in his locker room, and here's what we're going to do, and here's what you're not going to do, and why didn't you listen? This version of Roman is the opposite. No words. Just going after him. I'm taking back what's mine, that Ulafala, that necklace. He wanted it because that is what he was crowned by the elders. You go back, the stuff with Jay and Jimmy. You go back to that. Crowned by the elders. Was given that necklace. What it means. Paul Heyman has talked about what that means. Didn't get it back on Friday. Didn't really totally get to Solo. The OTC, the original tribal chief, what would he be the tribal chief of, though? Which I think everybody is, expecting a bloodline civil war to happen. Although, it wouldn't be the first time, right? Because the Usos went up against Solo and Roman, and that was Roman's first pinfall loss in a tag team match, but it was when they challenged for the tag team titles. And now, after, I should say, they challenged. But when you look at Roman now, this is a Roman who's acting by force, who's acting by physicality. And we still have to wait for his words. And I like that. Because the crowd's hot as hell. B may just say, when Roman hits the acknowledge me for the first time, the place is going to go nuts. Yup. And you can save that moment. You're not in a rush. Now, he has been announced for SmackDown next week. Should we expect more of the same? Are we setting up Roman and Solo for Bash at Berlin? I already got 2 pretty big matches on that show already. We'll talk about Cody and KO in a second. We know about Gunther and Randy Orton. Is that happening with Roman? Does it need to? Would there be a letdown if he doesn't wrestle at Bash at Berlin? So far, so good. A couple comments here. Let's put Nerdy Dudes up. Nerdy Dude, thank you for the super chat here. I noticed the Bloodline still had the DIY plates in their belts. Might have been an oversight, but I thought it's funny nonetheless. So that can happen. Sometimes the plates are not ready because booking changes. Who knows how far out those plans were in advance. Some people have plates because they've had them before. Some people get a new set of plates. Some people reuse what they used to use, or they just haven't been created yet. And I know on Shop you can go buy, the next set. whatever they're going to be, or people who haven't had a title yet. You could buy those plates. So maybe there's no bloodline plates yet. I think there's a thought, and maybe I'm writing into this a little bit too much. You can try to take the plates do you try to take those titles from bloodline and get their own plates? We're not going to go near them. They can do whatever they want to those titles. Perhaps that's creative. I don't think so. But it's happened. It's not necessarily oversight. Sometimes it just they don't get them in time. They don't exist yet. The other thing is, though, sometimes they do put in like generic WWE plates. So I don't know if maybe it was an oversight, or maybe it's just like no one's going near them. They have the possession of those titles. Those guys are dangerous. They'll let us know if they want new plates. But it's a point out. And I know Johnny Gargano took a picture and was saying, the plan is to get those back. So their plates are still on them. I also kind of like the idea of, it's an extra FU to the team they beat. Plethora, let's put that one up there. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Do you think that Solo brings a Hikuleo to beat down Roman, then Jimmy returns, then Jacob reappears? I look at it more steps to War Games. So, all indications, reports, all that Hikuleo signed. Where does he land in all this? I think you have to look at how Roman was presented on Friday and how the Bloodline was presented on Friday, because he kind of took care of them. And I know he's pissed off and it's Roman Reigns, but I had said you really need to build them up, because you got to decide here, and this is creative. Does Roman get a beatdown from him? Do they get something back on Roman? Very rarely happened when he was champ. Building up the shows, he might take a finish or two, but never an epic beatdown. Very rarely did he get completely laid out and left. He might take a stunner, get, BFT'd or whatever it may be, and that's fine. But very rarely did you see him get a beatdown like the Bloodline would hand out. His version or the current version. Do they do that to him? Does that message need to be sent? Do they need to get something back? Because you do run into the issue of them looking weak. They don't have a lot of big wins under their belt. Yeah, they won the tag titles. Solo did pin Cody at Money in the Bank. But there's not this big run of all these wins and all that. Like, they heated them up a little ahead of Money in the Bank and have kind of kept them there. But if Roman can run through them like he did on Friday, I think they're not established enough yet to be taking those kind of beatings. And you want to make sure that Roman has good foils, good people to play off of, good people to battle. If you add Hikuleo to the mix and he becomes another number, now they have Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Solo, Jacob, Hikuleo. Okay, now there's strength in numbers, right? I think there's something to that. Hey, this is Matt Camp. Thanks for checking out one of our recent clips from the Wrestling Mat. Why is someone so close to The Rock kind of throwing Cody under the bus?
Yeah, a lot of people won't engage with Jim Cornette. I did, just because I have a mark for Jim Cornette.
Please subscribe right now. Hit the like and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And I think you should listen to your TV partners. Let me tell you about WWE and a little insight. More subscribers means more content. And make sure you follow us on social media at WrestlingMat23 on both Twitter and Instagram.